Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and I'm here to host my show, Life After Happiness. Today we have my co-host, Kelly. Are you there, Kelly?
Yes, hi.
Good, hi. And we have psychic and medium Rick Hayes. Are you there, Rick?
Good evening. Yes, good evening.
Great.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, now let me ask you this question. I mean, you said to you that you had a near-death experience in your early 20s. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Kelly did too. But how did yours happen?
Well, actually, it began with a lack of sense, actually, because I was affected with I thought was food poisoning, and actually ended up being a double rupture of an appendix. And I ended up being in the hospital for like 31 days and had gangrene in my body, and didn't realize how affected I was. And so while I was in there, I was unconscious for several days, and I wasn't aware of it. But there's only two things I recall. I was in my early 20s at the time, and I recall two things in that experience. One was that my dad, I remember waking up at one time, and next to my bed was my dad. He was sitting there, and he had tears coming down his eyes. And I thought, why is Dad crying? He never cried. And I never did know it at the time, but I found out later that they didn't know if I was going to make it or not. And then the other experience I remember is that it was in a unconscious state, I guess. But I had what I call a celestial being, but I had an angel appear to me and shared with me when I first saw the angel. I immediately acknowledged. I said, "Let's go." You know, I felt at peace and I felt ready. And I said, "Let's go." And the words I remember that the celestial being shared with me was, "It's not, you got more to do. You have more to do." And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I don't know what I got to do, because at the time, this was in my early 20s, and I wasn't sharing my abilities. I was in the corporate world at the time, and I was newly married, and I said, I don't understand. The words repeated to me was, "You got more to do." Well, I regained full health, and years later, many years later, actually it happened 18 years ago, I began my path of purpose and sharing my abilities with those in the public. And I realize now with that experience, what this celestial being was sharing with me. It was sharing with me that it was this was my purpose in life, and this was what I was here to do. So that's what happened to me. It all began with thinking I had food poisoning and not going to the doctor when I should have immediately, and I didn't. So.
Oh, wow.
Now, do you have anything to add to that, Kelly?
Well, when I had mine, I had a similar type thing where, I mean, for you, was it like the most joyful, the most peaceful, like, place, and you didn't want to leave and come back, but they told you needed to?
Absolutely, Kelly. I think that's why I was so insistent. It's like, let's go. You know, I felt so peaceful. I felt everything was right, and you're exactly right. You felt it's almost like a metamorphosis of yourself. It's almost like you start feeling peace, and you start feeling calmness, and you start feeling emotions that you don't feel, that I've never felt before.
Yeah, like it was just this pure love, and unconditional. So it was like that too for you?
Yes, absolutely. So what was your experience actually? What happened to you?
Well, I've had a few. I mean, not to sound strange, but the one that I remember vividly is I was in a car accident, and it was on my birthday of all days. And a friend of mine was driving, and we got T-boned, and I ended up, like, she was upset and crying, and I don't remember how I got there, but I remember being probably 20 feet up in the air, looking down at my body on the stretcher, they were starting to go towards the ambulance with me on it, and then they stopped and they said, we have no pulse and she's not breathing. And then they're like, we need the crash cart. And I'm thinking, hello, I'm right here. So, I'm like, oh, that's going to hurt, But luckily, then they were able to, get me back without using the paddles. But in the meantime, while I was up there, and I'm, like, hello, then it was like I was transported to this where it was like people were gingerbread people. They were glowing people, that didn't have too distinct a form, but it was just, I intuitively knew who each person was, even people that are my ancestors I've never met. And my best friend Jim was there, and he was the one that I saw first. And then it ended up that, I wanted to stay. I was like, hey, this is like the best I've ever felt. And they're like, no, it's not your time yet. And I'm like, well, why can't it be? This is, I don't want to leave here. I feel like I finally belong somewhere. And they said that you have a lot, you need to do. You're going to be giving to the world something, but that's, far off yet. And this had happened when I was in my 20s, and I'm in my 40s now. So, and I couldn't even imagine then what in the heck could be important that I could contribute.
Well, I think you're learning that now by being on the air, Kelly. I mean,
I'm hoping to help.
I mean, she's incredible. I mean, she comes on the show, and I've never seen anybody that loves doing this as much as she does. I
can tell.
She's become one of my best friends. Huh?
Thank you.
I can tell you. I can tell you're very comfortable with it, Kelly.
Oh, thank you. I am now. At first,
I need to ask you this, Kelly. Have you ever experienced a burn or a burnt?
I did when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was working at McDonald's, and the fry baskets went down, and I ended up with like grill marks on my arms that I don't have anymore. Luckily, my dad was burnt horribly at work.
Okay, because as you were talking, I was getting something about, as you were talking about experiences about angels and things like that. I was hearing something about burnt, about fire and being burnt. So, is your dad?
He's okay. Yeah, he was like, they weren't sure he was going to make it. And the weird thing,
and just to share with you, Kelly, that as I got that, as we were talking about angels and everything, I would say that there was angels around your dad as well, helping him at that time as well.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I'd never seen my mom so upset, and she was afraid to go to the hospital to see him because they told her it was that bad. And when you're saying burnt, that's the funny thing. I'm at my fiance's house, and they had a house fire, and about 4 years ago they rebuilt a house on the spot. And so, they lost about everything in that fire except each other.
Okay. Well, there's protection there, and by me getting something about that experience, it is to share with, it could have been for your dad, it could have been where you're at, but it's an expression of protection as well. What we're talking about the angels and about the celestial beings. So just know that too, okay?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely pass it on to him. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny that I'm at that house right now where, that happened and they rebuilt. So, yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And, I do know that my friend, before he passed from leukemia, when I was there at his bedside holding his hand, he said that he would be my guardian angel. And I know that he was one of them that greeted me right away when I was up in there. Yeah,
and I share that. I share who individuals people ask me. They say, who's my guardian angel? And it's like, well, who better to guide you than someone who cares about you and love you? That'd be your family member that's there in the next part of life, or like you mentioned, a dear friend, and someone who really cares and loves you. They're going to, they're going to help you through your life as well. They're a guardian angel.
Yeah, that makes sense. I believe my mom's one of them. I just don't know that she feels that she needs to be that connected to me right now, but I think she comes and goes and checks on me.
Yeah, don't cut your hair.
No. I was thinking of doing something, a little drastic with it, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And last year I cut it myself.
What about it, Jared? Why are you telling me not to cut it?
Well, I heard a female, when she just said that, I heard a female voice connection sharing with me that I heard this female say, "Don't cut your hair." So, so is your mom transited?
Oh, yeah, my mom was probably, thinking, "Oh, don't cut your hair again," because I kind of did an interesting work of it last year around this time.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Took some chunks out of it by accident, and then I had to have my friend fix it. And yeah. Too bad she can't advise me on hair color, because But
I mean, do you feel like there's let me ask you this. I mean, do you when you look at Kelly, I mean, do you see her as psychic, or?
Well, I've been sharing this since I've been sharing, on radio shows and everything. We all have abilities. When we're born, we're given many abilities and gifts and talents and skills, and we're to apply them in our path in our life. And I feel that we all are given upon birth. We're given this ability to utilize what we call the spiritual abilities, the medium, being a medium or being a psychic or being an empath. We all have these. The problem is, Jonathan, is we're growing up as kids, we're told it's imagination, and if we see something, and it's a coincidence, and so we start blocking them as we get older, and we start actually ignoring them.
I believe it. I mean, or even, some people say they don't understand where it's coming from, so it must come from the devil, and then, then you're discouraged, for sure. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a very church-oriented atmosphere. I grew up going to church a lot because my mom's a preacher's daughter, and we were taught that there's, going to church is more than just life here. But these abilities I was sharing and the type of religion I was brought up, it was not of our Creator, and it really bothered me, because it's like, well, if that's not the case, I love God. I don't want them if they're not from a spiritual guidance, and so I just said I didn't want them, and that's part of the reason why I kept them. I kept them in. We kept them to myself and within the family for years and years, until 18 years ago, because I didn't want everybody to think there was something wrong with me. I didn't want everybody to think, especially growing up as a child, I didn't want everybody to think there was something wrong, and I didn't want to. I didn't know myself if it was right or wrong. So, but as I grew older, I quickly, around 8 or 9, especially, I was really recognizing it was okay. These abilities are okay. It's something we're given, and it's given to us to know that life is a continual thing. It doesn't just end. That's why I don't use the word death or dead, because that means an end. We don't end in life. We just continue on.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's like a transition into a different type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we just leave the physical body. We leave this physical body upon our completion of this part of life, and we transit into what I call the body of spirit and the spiritual body, and we continue on. And, we're just in a different part of life. We're in the second part of life. It's almost like going from one room to another room. So, but it's a continual thing. It doesn't. We don't end. We don't end.
Now, I have a question. In around, I think it was around June or something. My grandmother died, and she was like 107. And do you pick up on her?
Well, I don't, but I was at the moment. But it doesn't mean she may show up later, as we're talking. But I will say this: 107 years old. That's incredible, and she's got to be a heck of a woman, because I mean, a really good life,
in
a
her
really
family.
Yeah. Were you close to her, Jonathan?
Yeah, we were.
I'm being shown a nativity scene. As we're talking, and sometimes they help me with what I call picture postcards. I'm being shown like a small, like a decorative, it'd be like a display, like a small nativity scene, like for Christmas. I don't know if she decorated her home for Christmas or if she had something like that, but that's what I'm getting as we're talking about this.
I mean, I'm not big. I don't remember anything like that. I mean, I know that my grandmother on the other side was a devoutly religious woman, and I know that she was a Catholic. I know that.
Okay.
She was a devout Catholic. My grandmother that died at 107 was a devout Catholic. She
okay.
My grandfather was an atheist, though, but he was so.
Well, he isn't anymore.
They say after the oh, hey.
What?
I'm converted. Yeah,
Converted.
opposites attract. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I know that the Mormons have teachings that you can, find God even in the afterlife, and I think there's other, Christian religions that believe that as well. I mean, there are some that figure that you make your decision here and then you reap the, benefit or punishment later. But I don't know. That's encouraging to hear that he's converted in the afterlife.
Well,
so,
and I grew up in, like I said, I grew up in religion, and actually, in my young adult life, I really studied not just in the religion I grew up in, but in all aspects of religion, Mormonism, Buddhism. I studied it mainly because I was looking for answers for myself, and my conclusion of the spiritual self is believe in something and believe within. Because that's where the spiritual self all begins. It's within yourself, within your soul, within your spirit. So, we all had different thoughts about the next part of life, and religions have different thoughts in the next part of life, but the whole key is just to believe in something.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, to me, everything seems interconnected in one way or another anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if, that's correct, but that's kind of how I've sensed it. Like there's a commonality between all of the religions, usually. And, I believe it is also to help us look within ourselves to find where we fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you see this show going in the future? Like, how do you see maybe we could grow our audience? Maybe we could help more people?
Well, and I say this, I got kind of placed into another part of this purpose in my life. It's about 4 or 5 years ago. I began. I had so many individuals coming and having appointments for connections with their loved ones in the next part of life. But when we got done with their appointment, they would start asking me, "Well, Rick, that's great about the next part of life, but what about life here? What can I do to better my career? What about a relationship in my life and things like that?" So I actually began learning from the top life coaches in the respective fields and learning from them, and I started developing my own life coaching program, and I've been doing it now for 4 or 5 years. And one of the things I share in that is that, whatever you feel pulled toward, and let's talk about this show, for example. If you feel a pull toward this doing this show, and you feel a compassion to this show, and there's something telling you within yourself to continue to build and grow this show, then that's what you want to follow, is when those doors open for you to walk through. And the key is to be consistent. You know, if you feel that pulled, don't let nothing knock you down. Just stay consistent. I do feel this. I do feel like there's good energy between you and Kelly and Jonathan. I feel like that, you know, your energies together, working together, is going to grow. I do also. Are you doing this show like? Are you doing it like? I'm hearing now every week. Are you doing the show every week?
Well, pretty much. And we also are doing it on. We have a YouTube show now, but we have not had a psychic on yet. We've done chakra days, but what we're doing is, I did a little trial run yesterday, and I realized that that it is possible to do a simulcast. So, you know, we could do simulcasts now, and I mean, you know, one of the things that I think has kept me going is the fact that it really makes Kelly this happy. I didn't think the show could ever make somebody this happy. I mean, you know, I mean, she posted on her page, she's like, I've been on the show 10 times, and I counted, you know, you'll be the 16th psychic she's interviewed, you know, and
wow.
It's well, she's done there's more shows than that if you get the chakra days, but I'm talking like the psychics she's interviewed have been 16, and you know, she always looks forward to the shows, and the only thing that's bad about the shows is that I can't see your face. That's why I like to do the video thing. I mean, but are you wearing a shirt right now, Kelly?
No, it's at my house. It needs to get washed. Otherwise, I would be. I would be. No, I'm wearing a Detroit Tiger shirt, actually. Yeah, go team.
I'm curious. I mean, you know, because I've heard a lot of people come up with weird predictions. One prediction is that I'm going to start to get connections in the United Kingdom. And the word that's been used is that the show will eventually be known throughout the world. One psychic named Karen Page told me that. And I talked to, and I had a reading today with another psychic. Are you familiar with the name Daniel Brinkley?
Do not, no.
He was from Georgia. He did a lot of, and he had a near-death experience, joined the club, and he used to be a bully, and well, he changed, and he did a reading for me, and he's going to be sending me the recording. And I think one of the things I like about the show is that it does seem to motivate people, and it makes people feel better. I can tell you, I haven't found anybody like Kelly yet. I haven't found anybody that has liked the show that much, that has, you know, and it took me a while to key into the fact that she liked it that much, because I didn't think anybody would like what I'm doing that much, you know. Kelly just sort of holds back on her feelings a lot of the times. I mean, would you say that's true, Kelly?
Yeah, because I'm afraid of, you know, rejection, or afraid of things falling through. So, yeah, I always have, you know, that little bit of fear in the back of my head. So I'm trying to learn how to drop that and just go with something and not worry about it and just enjoy it.
Well, do this, Kelly. I'm going to suggest this. Turn that rejection into a re-energize. And what I mean by that is, don't focus on the rejection. Look at how it can help you to grow and to be stronger and be better and be amazing. And you can do that by re-energizing. So every time you feel like you're being rejected, turn that into re-energizing yourself and making yourself stronger. And by doing so, you'll find that rejections become less and less. You know, in my industry, when I first started this 18 years ago, I mean, it was, you talk about rejections. You know, I was getting rejections of individuals not knowing me. I got rejections of individuals not believing in what I was doing. And I turned that into, okay, that just energized me and made me, motivated me even more to show and to get out there and do what I was known to, what I was needed to do was to reach every person, as many people as I could in the world about life and about the great things in life. And so if there's one thing I'd share with you tonight on that fear of rejection is just know that just every time you feel like a little bit of rejection, turn that into re-energizing yourself and making yourself stronger.
Wow. Okay? Is there a good way to do that, or just a lot of soul searching?
It's a lot of self-growth. It's self-building. It's building your confidence. A lot of times when you feel rejection, you don't have, your confidence level is not where it should be. So you don't want to get, you don't want to become arrogant, but at the same time you want to have a confidence where you truly believe in yourself. One of the things I'm on a mobile app now. It's called the PDA, and it's the largest personal development app now available. So it's got over 1.5 million downloads to it. And I have a video on there. And I have a video on there that is I talk about fear and how fear affects you. And fear is a good emotion in the sense of it can redirect you, it can protect you. But the one thing you don't want fear to do is to restrict you from being who you really are. So if you have that fear, start dissolving the fear by building confidence in yourself. And every time you feel like you're going to have bad days, but don't let the bad day carry into the next day. Just take it for a moment, learn from it. And that's the other thing too. Every time you feel like you're being rejected or you feel like there's a challenge in your life, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do so the next time I have that experience, I will be a stronger person?
I like that. Yeah, thank you.
You'll do it.
I like that. I hope so. Yeah, I've come back from a lot, so I'm thinking,
She sure has.
Yeah, so it's been setting me up to do something.
I was telling her today because I've heard her described as being the tough one on the show, but it's sort of funny. I really not that she's not tough, but I sort of see her as this beautiful little flower. That you.
Thank you.
I mean, that you don't want to see get hurt, and I know that she's tougher than that, but I mean, I don't know. I do sort of feel that way about her sometimes because, I just don't. I mean, I don't want to hurt old Kelly, and I want to make sure that Kelly has everything she, she wants. See what I'm saying? Because she's my best friend, and but I hope she's smiling right now.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel the same way about you. And I want you to be happy. I want you to have the things that you want. And the thing is that growing up, I was told I was being picked on at school because I was too sensitive. I was too easily picked on. I didn't have any comebacks. I didn't fight. And let's say I was absolutely backed into a corner and had, to the point where, okay, I'm tired of this, let's do it, But, I don't want to be that person. I mean, I want to be a soft, loving person, but I don't want to be a doormat either. And when I was younger, I was one. And I don't want to be tough as nails and be the unapproachable person. I want to be, balanced in between and confident. So,
you made a good point. You made a good point there, Kelly. How we're raised as a child, because when we're a child, we're basically being trained. We're basically being raised. So, and whatever environment we are in as a child, however we're raised as a child, whatever we learn from as a child, actually molds us into what we may end up being as an adult. So our childhood does affect our adulthood. so what you can do, though, if you've had that experiences as a child of feeling like you're being picked on, feel like you're being overly sensitive, is if you see where that's affecting your adulthood now, look at the areas where what you can do to maybe become, again, going back to building your confidence. When you talked about your childhood, I just saw absolutely no confidence in yourself, and you've carried that on into your adulthood. So what you want to do now is work on yourself to know that you are. This is one of the things I wrote in one of my books is you are unique like no one else. No one else has been created just like you. You are the only one, the only unique person in this world exactly like you. Even identical twins aren't alike in certain ways. So there's no one else like you. And if you think about it that way, by feeling unique, you know how important you are, you know how amazing you are, and that builds your confidence up in knowing that you are unique like no one else. And so by telling yourself these things, because as a child you was probably told, you were too sensitive, and you said you was a doormat. You were told things that chopped you down. And so what you want to do now is you want to start building yourself up by telling yourself, I'm unique like no one else. One of the things I teach whenever I'm coaching is when you get up in the morning, the first thing you want to do is give thanks. You want to thank you for the day, and you want to think of 7 things you're grateful for. And then once you do that, then begin to tell yourself, this is a day that's created just for me. It's going to be an exciting day, and I'm going to make something happen today, and it builds the confidence in you. Taking those steps, how you were molded as a child, you can start changing, breaking that mode as an adult.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I like to reflect on the day and think about things I was grateful for before I go to sleep. But, but doing that at the start of the day instead of going, the alarm just went off, to do it at the start where I can actually help mold the rest of the day makes more sense.
Yeah, because you don't want to, and I was there at one time. I was in the corporate world where I had to get up with an alarm clock in the mornings when it went off at 6 o'clock. And, and if you think about it, what a way to make the day bad is looking over at the alarm clock and saying, shut up, Yeah. I mean, immediately you're saying, immediately you're starting the day negative. So what you want to do is, I feel like in the mornings you just don't. If the alarm clock goes off, the alarm clock lay there for a few minutes and just say thank you, and these are the 7 things I'm grateful for today, and it's going to be a great day. And you start saying those things, and guess what? That energy creates it to be a good day. You're going to have challenges through some days. You're going to have those days you want to go in the closet and scream as loud as you can, but you make that just for a moment. You just make it a moment. You don't let it affect your whole day. That's why, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but the Facebook is so filled with negatives that whenever we created my pages on there, one of the things that I teach and I talk about is we're born here to be positive. We're born here to enjoy life, and so when we built those my Facebook pages, I said there's going to be something positive on there every day for someone to read, and that's what we put on there every day. So, and again, people come to me and they always say, Rick, you always seem so positive all the time. Are you always positive? Well, no. There's days I stub my toe when I'm walking across the room, hit the coffee table or something like that, and that hurts. But I don't carry it through the day and say, well, I stubbed my toe. Now what's going to happen next? I just let it take it. I accept it for that moment, and then I can go on.
Yeah, I used to be that person.
Are you happier more these days, Kelly?
I am. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of stressors, and I try not to let those drag me down. I mean, sometimes they do in the moment, and if I overthink it, but I try not to overthink things, and I try to find ways to work around what's going on or to work through it or communicate better. And, I don't think life is ever going to stop throwing stressors at us. I think a huge part of that is how we deal with it, how we look at it. Like, are we going to
Yes.
let it roll down our back, or are we going to immerse ourselves in it and feel like we're drowning? And there's,
Yes,
the
and
in-between.
And besides that, the state you're in is beautiful in wintertime. I don't care for cold weather, but when it snows up there in your state, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's
mine
been
is
cold
built
enough,
for the-
too, but it hasn't.
Mine is built for spring, summer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mine, our snow melted, and it was beautiful while it was here, but it'll come again. And in the meantime, it looks kind of like March outside, where it's not green, but it's kind of brown and dead. It's wet. So, yeah, but it's all right. Yeah, I try to take note of the beautiful things around me. I had a closed head injury. That was another one of the near-death experiences. And I won't go into how it happened at this point, like on this show, but I have talked about it before. But, it took me a good 15 years to get myself back afterward. But one of the things I noticed right away was it was like I was hypersensitive to everything. Like, noises and all that, like, it was hard. I didn't have a filter to distinguish, okay, listen to this person talking, but this other stuff is background noise. I didn't have that filter after that happened for a long time. And, I just finally gained my childhood back like 4 years ago, and it was a huge moment for me. But yeah, it's really strange to have the senses so geared up on high that it's hard to make sense of things. And I think that's when I started, big time on the journey that I'm on, because, that totally rattled me and changed my life in a way that I couldn't foresee. And I could either stay in that state and not know who anybody was and not know how to make sentences, or I could go on and go through the different therapies, which was the hardest and most painful thing I've had to do. And I don't remember some of it, which is fine. But, I think when you go through something like that, it's such a catharsis. If you're not letting it take you over, you're actually, trying to improve yourself. I had excruciating migraines because the neurotransmitters had to form new neural pathways because all the centers of the brain was working correctly, but they couldn't communicate with each other for a while, and they didn't know if they would. So, anytime I was doing any growth in there and really pushing myself, it was extremely painful. But, I've had physical things happen as well, besides that, but, I figure these things happen for a reason, and there's somebody out there, if there's just at least one person that I could help with this. Maybe they've gone through something and they're not sure they have the strength to make it through, or, something like that, or they're confused. They're, they have things happening and they don't know if they can get out of it. I feel like, that's probably why I'm also drawn to rescuing exotic animals, because you see animal shelters for dogs and cats, but you don't see them for lizards and snakes and, things like that. So I opened up my house for that, and the huge calling to want to educate people to help prevent animal abuse and neglect. But there's also the huge calling of wanting to help people that are in, like, domestic violence situations, or, just feeling really low and like they're by themselves.
Well, Kelly, you mentioned the snake. You mentioned snakes. When I speak in different venues, I always share this, that people ask me, have I ever been afraid with my abilities? Have I ever been afraid of what I see, what many say ghosts or see spirits, and has it ever been afraid of it? I've never been afraid of what I've seen. But I always add this, though. But if you put a snake in front of me, I'll be 10 miles down the road before you blink twice. Because snakes and I don't get along.
I'm going to say this, and this is the thing, okay? to your defense, Rick, you know, what
Yes.
it is that there are poisonous snakes and then there's snakes that aren't. And, you
Yes.
know, if, you know, I don't know which is which. So it's kind of like picking up a gun that you don't know is loaded. I mean, if you know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and there's actually supposed to be these two snakes that, and I don't know, because I was reading this book and I was reading these two snakes, and apparently one is poisonous and the other one isn't, but they look exactly, almost identical to each other. And,
Wow.
you know, the thing to do is that, you know, it's like one is a certain kind of snake and the other one isn't, but they look almost identical. I think it's like one color off or something. And, you know, why risk it? Why go near them? You know, I mean, why?
Yeah.
I mean, just sort of, I mean, but I'm not putting down snakes. I used to have a snake. But the whole point is that it just, you know, it's just that it's like, I think what it is, I'll say this is with animal rights activists, is that it does seem like what they do, though, and I don't know, maybe it's an evolutionary thing, they always seem to go for either the cute ones or the ones that are most like us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's very rare that you ever hear, like, it's not like, oh, this big woolly baboon or something, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I do, and I will follow up with always, and I do. If there's something you're afraid of, you know, the one way to eliminate fear is to understand it. So, just like with snakes, I'm trying to learn more about snakes. I've been afraid of snakes all my life, but one thing I know I need to do is learn, like you was talking about, Jonathan. I need to learn which types are poisonous, which are not. You know and get a better understanding of snakes, because by doing that I have less and less fear of that. But I'm still afraid
but it's
of
also,
it.
in the sense though, it's not really a matter of fear if the snake is poisonous or not. I mean, if the snake's not poisonous, you know, you could learn from them. But when I was a kid, I was wondering why I couldn't get a cobra. You know, there's a very good reason why I couldn't get a cobra. You know, but I mean. Actually, I've often wondered, this is the question I was asking people, could they be able to genetically engineer a herbivorous, non-venomous cobra? I mean, they've done every other kind of genetic engineering. I mean, you know, could they genetically engineer one that is herbivorous, meaning that you don't have to feed it right mouse or anything, and then it's non-venomous? Could they do it? And,
well, all I'm going to say on that, Jonathan, is that I don't want to be a part of the test. So, you know.
It's like, okay, we're gonna test to make sure that the snake isn't venomous. I mean, actually, what's sort of funny is that that's funny thing about that. I mean, there was Jay Leno told a joke one time. He said they've been able to genetically engineer a zebra that doesn't have any stripes on it. And Jay Leno says, don't we have that now? We're called horses. I mean,
that's right.
And
or donkeys.
And but I don't know. I mean, you know, it's
speaking of animals, Kelly, do you have a cat?
I used to.
Okay. I feel like there's going to be another cat in your path, so you may be getting another cat.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm actually seeing gray. I don't know what color your cat was before, but this is like a gray, like a metallic gray colored cat.
That sounds like the two brothers I used to have, Chewy and Crybaby. Like,
okay.
Crybaby lived to be 21.
Okay.
Yeah, they had kind of like these stripes on their bellies. Well, one of them did kind of like scallop-looking ones, and then the other one had like a white belly. But you know, one was more gray than the other one and shorter hair. Yeah, I mean that.
Is it different when animals come to you than when people come to you?
Yeah, actually it is, Jonathan. We people ask me, they say, do pets get a trans-in? Do they get to go in the next part of life? Well, why wouldn't they? I mean, if they've been a part of your life and they've given.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, is the energy different? Like, do you, like, if, say, you're picking up on a cog, is it different than a cat? Mm-hmm. Is it different than a person?
Yes, it is. When we go into reincarnation, I always share with everyone that, we won't be coming back as an animal, and the animals won't be coming back as a person, because we have to do two different souls. I can. There's a difference in energy and difference in souls. So there's a difference in energy when I acknowledge the presence of an animal compared to acknowledgement of an individual. Now, a lot of times, what will happen is I will actually, I actually see them run across me. If it's a dog, I've been in homes where, I'll see an image or a presence of a small dog going across the room. And I'll ask them if they've had a dog that's transited, and they'll share with me they have. But their energy is different than if I pick up on an individual.
How are they different?
Oh.
How is it different?
Yes.
Well, the difference is not it's not really so much the difference is as far as just the feeling. Just like we're talking, if you had for example, if you had a dog next to you right now, I would pick up on an energy of an animal, just because it has a different feeling than it does an individual. So it isn't so much
that animals. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm just saying I would think animals would show more unconditional love. I would think. I mean, they don't have like Kelly's sugar. Is that what they call sugar gliders?
Oh, sugar gliders. Yeah.
Sugar gliders.
Yeah,
it's like
love.
animals. Yeah, they don't sit around and think, well, I'm going to get a job. They don't think voting. They don't think politics. They don't think
revenge.
Revenge. All they think of is this person who basically is, who I show unconditional love to, because I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to ever have money. They don't sit around and think what's in their wallet. Maybe that's what the difference is, because, like, obviously, I'm going to go throughout my day, and I'm going to be thinking about my wallet. I'm going to be thinking about what food I'm going to get out of the refrigerator. I'm going to be thinking about whether or not I want to go for a walk. I'm going to be thinking about myself, meaning my computer. And I'm going to be thinking about, how can I earn money to have fun and everything. You understand? The sugar gliders don't really think about those things. They do, but they think about, but we don't sit around, humans don't sit around and think, well, gee, I wonder what all the things that she's worried about, because that's why. Does that make sense, Rick?
Yeah, and I will say this: I do have friends in this industry that they are titled as animal communicators, or they actually are titled as being able to communicate with your pet, and they will share with me how they can feel the feelings of that pet. For example, if a dog's not eating, for example, and the owner doesn't know why it's not eating, well, then the animal communicator will share that the energy of that pet is sharing with them that it is feeling very depressed and very sad because they may have been kicked before in their life or something like that by someone that was inhumane. And so animals have emotions, but you're right, Jonathan, there is a difference between they have an unconditional love here in this life.
They're not
for us,
worrying about the things that we're worried about,
Right. Yeah, they don't worry about, if it's going to, snow next week or anything like that. Absolutely.
I would too.
I've been told that I would. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on with what you're saying, Kelly.
Oh, okay. I was told that I could be a very good animal communicator at some point. And I believe that I have been my whole life. I mean, I've had animals come up to me from the wild that people are like, whoa, how did that happen? I don't know. You know, and I had this blue jay that I called Little Jay, and I would call for him, and he would come right up. And, you know, my mom would call and then just, you know, throw out like a ear of corn or something. But, like, he would literally come up to me. And then one year, it was the last year he did it, like, he would see my car coming, and then he would, you know, go into the tree in our yard. Well, the last year, he brought his mate, and she kind of stayed behind a little bit, you know, like 20 feet up in the tree, but he came to me. And, you know, this is verified. I've had friends see it and everything else, but, you know, just for me, things like that aren't unusual. And, you know, I can tell what an animal's feeling or what their past was like. I had a traumatized hermit crab, you know, because they're not grown in captivity. They are caught in nets. And, you know, I could feel what it was like being yanked out of, you know, my community, you know, as a hermit crab. And the traumatizing, you know, effects that would have. All of a sudden now you're in a tank with other ones and you're like, wait, I'm used to roaming like 20 miles a day, you know, where's the ocean? You know, what are these people doing? You know, so, you know, I had some that were really snappy and would lash out and would use their claw to just clamp down on your finger. And I had one that was super sweet that got basically dismembered by one of them, but it survived and it grew all of its limbs back. And it is the sweetest, cuddliest animal. I mean, because normally they don't just lay on the sand and let you take care of them. They would die, you know. But I kept it moist and not drying out and all that. And it overcame its fear of me. And, you know, we're like, she'll get depressed until I take her out. And then if I give her food or I give her water, which I do every day, but if she goes and eats her food or drinks her water, she drops these little tiny shells in there like a thank you. It's really cute.
Wow.
Yeah, and people don't think that they're capable of that. I mean, how big is their brain? You know, but really it doesn't come down to that. We're all living creatures. We all, you know, want to feel safe. And, you know, they have unconditional love. But they also have fear. So, you know, and other emotions. But it, you know, like I have 14 bearded dragons. And each one of them has its own personality, like a dog or a cat. It would,
14?
You know, and people are amazed.
Why do you have that many?
I rescued them, and then they had, you know, babies. You know, after I rescued them, they were pregnant and had babies. And if I kept all of them, though, I'd have probably 200. So I did, you know, find homes for a lot of them. But I do have some special needs ones that can't go to another home.
Very interesting.
Thank you. So do you think that that's something that I could do and be of service with?
Well, I think, Kelly, you've already expressed that. I mean, you talked about your sensitivity, which I feel like someone who has a heightened sensitive feelings can also communicate with those that we, you know, cannot with animals, for example. So, and it sounds like to me you've already kind of followed your path where you're taking in these animals and you're giving them encouragement, you're communicating with them and giving them love and support. So, and if you got all these animals around you now, it is actually telling you that this may be a part of your path, and it's for you to help the animals in this world.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. You know, I've been trying to take them, you know, the ones that enjoy being out, you know, I'll take those to schools or whatever and help teach, you know, so that people realize, oh, that's too much work. I don't want that kind or whatever.
And what's unique, what you're sharing with me is it's not the domestic animals, it's more the you know, the hermit crabs and the animals. Sometimes we just kind of, you know, what Jonathan said a while ago. I mean, there's a lot of commercials right now. They're showing cute dogs and cute cats, and you know, and they're stuck out in the winter. But we don't see any commercials about, the animals you're talking about that may be, like the hermit crabs being mass produced in a commercial type environment or something like that. So, this may be your path to say, I am going to focus on the compassion for those type of animals.
Thank you. Yeah, because one of my memories from childhood was horrible. Like that we had a carnival and kids could win a goldfish for a prize. Well, some of those kids were throwing those bags of goldfish up against the wall. That's awful.
Well,
I
when I was a kid, and I didn't do this to be cruel or anything. I just didn't know any better. I thought that I had to be 2 goldfish, and I thought that the way you were supposed to feed a goldfish was supposed to wiggle your fingers over the fish tank. I didn't know that you were actually supposed to take food and feed them. I didn't know this. See, so I was like, okay, no, Mommy, I feed them every day. I go over there and I do this. Do you have food? No.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't know any better. I was like,
yeah, that's why I encourage people, if you're going to get a pet for your kid, make sure that you're supervising, because, things like that happen, and, people don't realize.
I was supposed to feed them. I didn't know that the way that the feed them was to do that. I just thought it was a wiggling your fingers over the bowl or over the. I thought that was something that you were supposed to do. I didn't know that it was like you're supposed to actually take food and put it in your fingers and do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you haven't been shown, how are you going to know? And
yeah.
So, yeah. So, that's just, I got fascinated with them when I was in kindergarten and they had show and tell, and somebody brought in those little green anoles that change from brown to green. They're little tiny, like 5-inch long things. And I was allergic to animals, like most animals that have fur. So it was like I started with those, and I had a fish tank, and then later on we discovered I can handle, a dog, I can handle a cat, kind of a thing. But, it was fascinating. Here's these little, things. They're so different, and they didn't know a whole lot about them at the time. So I was working with a vet, and the vet said, you should write a book on these. And wish I had taken them up on it, because now there's books out, But, yeah, I've had unusual things like, they didn't think that they would breed in captivity. Well, they did. They laid eggs, and I didn't know how to take care of the eggs. But, it's just, one of those things where I learned how to understand animals at a very, very young age, before kindergarten, and communicate with them. And I'm afraid to tell people.
You felt a connection. You felt a connection
Absolutely.
with it as well, even as a child.
Absolutely. Like, and then I was afraid to say anything about it, because you don't want people to think you're crazy. But
I understand that.
Yeah, and even plants communicate. If you look at YouTube, they sing. And if you put a genetically modified one of the same plant next to it, it has to learn how to do it from the one that's not genetically modified, because, apparently plants have a soul. They do. They've put little sensors on them and hooked them up to speakers, and they each have their own little song. Like, I don't know if it's according to species or if the plant's different, but yeah, if you look it up, singing plants.
No, I have to look that up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it makes sense, because everything has its own vibrational frequency.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes.
Have you not heard of Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin?
No, never.
Then he went solo for a while too.
Yeah. He said, "I'm a plant. I can sing."
We have about 20 seconds left, but It was really great
Wow.
having you on. And hope
That
you
was
can come
It's a
back.
great time.
Thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.